Hello, 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 everybody. How are we doing today? My name is Bloodhound Lord. I'm here with my great group of guests here. We are called the Ambiguity, excuse me, Antiphonal Ambiguity. Our name means group play. We go through games, talk about the story, the gameplay mechanics, what we like, what we dislike about them, and then we break them down so that you guys can decide whether or not you want to jump in or, I don't know, maybe want to pass on it. But I got in my panel today with us Soren Raven. Can you tell us what you're playing these days? Tell us a little about yourself. Get a little acquainted with the people watching us today.
Sure. So I play a lot of side scrollers. I'm not real big into like RPGs, but I really do like side scrollers, old school games. Probably my favorite is God of War. Big God of War fan. And Pokemon. Two I play most often.
All right, all right. Sorry if the sound's a little wonky right now. I'm gonna see if we can get that adjusted. And on my bottom here, I got my good friend Ghost. Ghost, what are you into? What are you playing? Tell the people about yourself.
Yo. I'm currently running things like Elite Dangerous and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Really, I just enjoy playing games and checking out with people.
All right, all right,
That's really honest.
all right. And in our center bottom there, we got the lovely, the talented Little Bliss Blue. Tell us what you're into. Tell us what you've been playing recently.
Hi all. I am really big into Bioware. That is my jam. That is my butter. I've recently been pretty much obsessed with Mass Effect Legendary, and so that's where I've been at lately.
All right. And last but certainly not the least, we got our man, the bounty hunter posters. Why don't you tell the people about yourself? Tell them what you do, what you like, and what you're into.
Sure. I'm new here. I'm also in the space for probably like 9 months, but I am a lover of pretty much all RPGs. I like to at least try an RPG if I can, but I do like to dabble in other games as well, especially getting into full solid 15 and suggesting it. But lately I've been playing a good bit of Anthem. I'm a big lover of Monster Hunter World, so I've been playing that a ton, and a few other games like that genre.
All right, and I am your host for today's excursion. My name is Bloodhound Lord. I play any and everything as long as the story is good, slamming, and keeps me engaged. I predominantly play a lot of Final Fantasy games. You probably see that on my stream. But I mostly spend time in games that keep me engaged. With that being said, that is the purpose of our gathering here today. We are here to talk about the Horizon Zero Dawn. This will be spoiler laden, and I cannot say this enough. Spoiler laden. We will be talking about the ins, the outs, the stories. We will be talking about every facet of the game that we liked, what we didn't like, what we think needed to be changed, and what we're expecting from the upcoming sequel. So if you guys are here to stick around, keep this in mind. We will be watching the chat as much as possible. We will be taking questions and comments, so feel free to interact with us. If you have something that you need to say, please feel free to put it in our Twitch chat. If you're watching from Facebook Live, we're going to try to get you in as much as we can. If you're on our YouTube channel right now, we'll get you in as well. But without further ado, we're going to move on to our very first section. We're going to call this the recap. So, first and foremost, this game is a very, very long game. We start our journey with a young little girl by the name of Aloy. She is an outcast from a tribe called the Nora. She's been thrown out because she doesn't have a parent. She lives in a matriarchal society. Her journey starts with a simple act of kindness being thrown back in her face. We watch this young lady go through what we would call a trial and tribulation. She starts trying to train to join her tribe to do what we call a proving. After the proving, she gets attacked. A lot of her people die in the process. She herself decides that she's going to try to figure out what she needs to do to make this right, or at least find the people who did this. In order to do this, she needs to get permission from her tribe's leaders. They give her the permission she needs, and her journey then begins. She goes through a number of trials and tribulations along the way. She ends up meeting a number, I would say, wonderful cast of characters, and they help her find out where she came from, why things are happening the way they were, and why the people that attacked her during her proving want her dead. As her story progresses, she goes through a number of interesting locations, finding little bits and pieces, putting together not only her history, but the history of the world that she lives in. Whilst doing this, the people who ended up attacking her start making her life a little bit more difficult. As her journey progresses, she ends up getting into a situation where she not only realizes that she's a larger part of a whole, but the linchpin in a situation that may or may not determine the fate of her world and how she interacts with it. With that, we're just going to move into our next part, what we liked about this game. And since I am the one leading this, I'm going to ask that my person to the right, Miss Soren Raven, why don't you lead us off into the things that you liked about it, and I'll go last.
Okay, so things I liked. It's very pretty. It's an interesting storyline. And I like killing robots. That's about it.
All
I'm
right.
not a fan of this game, so.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's just keep it moving. Once you feel somebody has already said their piece, why don't you go ahead and jump right on in? We'll just keep the circle going. All right. Bounty, that would be you.
Yep. So, one, I agree. The world is beautiful. It is very beautiful. And I also agree with the fact that I like those robots as well. A lot of the time, I always find myself just seeing a herd of robots and being like, it's time to go over and hunt these guys real quick. But I definitely enjoyed the mounting system and learning about how to, like, which ones you could override and whatnot. I wish there was a couple more that we could mount, like actually ride, but the designs of the robots I thought were very, very well done. Um, the story was also really good. It's solid. It reminds me a lot of actually another story that's practically the same, but just not the same details, but generalized, it's pretty much the same. But I can go over that later. Um, yeah, it was very good. The combat was a little interesting, tough to get used to at the beginning, but over time I found myself getting used to it and enjoying it. Yeah, some things I like.
Okay. Blue, you're up next. What did you enjoy most?
I enjoyed the storyline. I enjoyed the characters that you got to meet. There were a lot of unique characters. There were some characters that I just wanted to kind of drop kick and, toss them over the cliff. But it created story, it created drama. It wasn't just linear. So I definitely love the characters that you meet. And I love Aloy's role, how she progressed from, this little tiny infant to this young woman who nobody wanted anything, well, most people didn't want anything to do with her. And it turns out that she is the one that is there to save them all. So that's what I pretty much like. And don't get me wrong, the imagery, the background, everything, that was beautiful, but the storyline was awesome. I like the story.
All right. Ghost, you're up next.
I would definitely say some mechanics. The mechanics of this game are absolutely different from everything I've touched beforehand. And it's definitely something that if you enjoy a game where they input some logic and then some stuff just doesn't make sense, play it. Because it's one of those games that the graphics hold up till today.
So I am a huge lore junkie. Like that is the one thing about a game that can just draw me in. I love that shit. I got super invested in not only the world but the people that lived in it. When you find out where, not even just where, but what time this game happens in, it felt to me like it was uh, a little cathartic. It made me feel a sense of belonging in this world because few games really invest enough time, not just the world building, but to invest the time into how the characters specifically have to navigate the world because you're playing through Ayla, you're forced to acclimate to the situation as it progresses, and that's one of the things that I loved most about this game. The other thing that I really did love is the weapon system. There are a few things that I would have changed personally, but we'll get into that here in the next segment. But the weapon system itself is something that I was just like, just can't get enough of firing an arrow. Like you feel it. And this is on a PlayStation 4, so who knows what's going to happen on the PlayStation 5. But when you draw that bow and you release, you feel the weight of that arrow just shooting off, and when it hits your target, you have a sense, you get that sensation where you're just like, yeah, I did that, I took that down. And then taking down some of the bigger monsters with the tools that you have, it forces you to think about a lot of the stuff that you have to do to bring down that monster. So when you do finally complete that task, there's a sense of accomplishment there that you cannot uh, get from any other game. At least in my opinion, you can't get that from any other game. But those are just a few of the things that I liked about it. Um, so with that said, let's kind of break that down a little bit more. Um, I'll start with Bounty. Uh, so you said that you enjoyed a few key portions of the game. Break down some of the stuff that you liked about it, and what really drew you to that particular mechanic in the game.
Well, I definitely agree with you with what you just said about the bows.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really love using all the different kinds of bows and whatnot. Even like the dragon swing. I tried using that. It's not really a bow, but I would definitely say some ranged weapons and whatnot. I really love that aspect. It was actually very fun to use. And then learning, using the focus to try and like figure out weak points and whatnot to try and aim for a robot is also interesting. Because like every time I would get to a new one, I'd be like, alright, what's the best areas to aim for? What's the weaknesses that I use the trick caster and whatnot to try to stun it in some way, something like that. The story I very much loved, especially because it reminded me of like you were saying earlier, you're a lore junkie. I too am a lore junkie for some other games. And one of my friends got me into Halo a long time ago. And the story for this game is actually just like one of the lore things for Halo, which is the entire like galaxy slash universe had to be like made in Halo by the Forerunners, which were like essentially they were aliens, but the world believes them to be gods because they're just so technologically advanced. Like a lot of the cattle cargo or the Eclipse believe that they're robots. Right? Um, they had to literally vaporize the entire galaxy of all life because of a hive muffin or the flood that's eating up the entire universe, much like the robots were for the planet. So they then took the DNA they had gathered before having to wipe out the entire galaxy of all the different species of intelligent species machines they had built beforehand, just like this one, to then restart up life in the entire universe. So it just reminded me of that story a lot, like a very large amount, just not in the specific details. So I enjoyed that a lot. Just brought down memories. And then, technical details.
Let me add something to that. The
Yeah.
way you were talking about the war system, I think the way they set up the war made you feel like you were invested in said tribe and groups. Because you're part of the North. As in,
Yeah.
you're born as part of the North. But after you actually leave that area, everything you do doesn't necessarily revolve around just the Nora themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It revolves around whoever's immediately with you, people you interact with, your group. It's not like your only focus is, the Nora. Some of the side quests even ignore the entire existence of other factions
Yeah.
and literally go down routes of, you're hunting bandits with someone you've met before.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in a world where not everyone cares about the sole thing that you started your journey based on.
It spreads you out to see the different patlines of many different people.
Oh yeah.
And not only that, it's in my view, it kind of seems to make Aloy as a character, um, like in this world, it made her empathize with the people that she had to be around more. So instead of her just being an individual that's just answering a call to action, she's more of just a regular person who just happens to have this bigger mission going on, and she can take time to help some dude bring some guy to justice, or help a Banuk priestess, depending on where you got where you are in the game, but helped a Banuk priestess bring some, not only solace to her people, but also just helps a group of people who wouldn't normally interact with a Nora tribes member come into a community. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I got from it.
See, I find it interesting because where we find helping we also find chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Because we meet a side character that we personally as a player obviously never interact with because you have silence. And he doesn't touch our character till what? When we meet him for the first time, and he also comes again when he comes to rescue us at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, playing through all of that, I'm like, okay, what's this nigga meant to do? Because he basically only acts like a voiceover.
Yeah.
Character.
So what did everybody think about Silas as a character? Just that. Let's touch on that for a second, because he is quintessentially, he's the linchpin to just everything that happens in this game.
I like the mystery. I like the initial mystery of his character, but it bugged me more and more the longer he stayed hidden. And then as soon as he became to that point where I'm just like, okay, get rid of this character, there's no need for him. He appears, and I'm like, oh, now you're here. Like, they emotionally invested me in him a little bit, and I think they got to that point where most people will go, I don't care about this character anymore, and they knew it, and they intentionally set him up that way.
Blue, I think you have some thoughts on that.
It was when I first got a chance to actually meet him. Now, when he was first talking, to me he was kind of abrupt, like he kind of came out of left field. And then when you got to actually talk to him more, I kind of find myself not liking him very much. And he's like, well, who are you? And he's like, of all things you discovered, you're telling me you just want to know who I am? And it's like, well, dude, you've been in here trying to help me out. I want to know who you are. Why should I trust you? So the way he comes across is like, ooh, oh, don't don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's why she always felt like a wall would kind of come up when he starts talking, because she was like, I don't know who you are. You kind of just showed up out of nowhere, and you expect me to trust you. Now, as the story progresses later on, and we start to learn a little bit more about him, and how he's evolved, that wall kind of starts to come down. But yeah, overall, I think the character very much.
Can we touch quickly, as just quickly to explain something very about the game, on focuses and how they almost act like instant things for us in the game? Someone else is gonna have to do it because the fire alarm just went off behind you.
So let me bring Raven back in here real quick because it's been a little quiet. But what was your take on him?
On Silence?
Yeah.
I like the actor that they got to play him. He's one of my favorites. So that was pretty cool. But no, he's an ass. Like, he's just rude. And I mean, I only got to the point where you take out the Eclipse camp. So I haven't actually met him in person, just seen him through the focus thing that she wears on her ear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's rude as hell, and I'm just like, what the hell? Why? And I agree. Why would you trust him? At this point, I'm still like, well, I don't know why I would trust you, because even though you said you had something to do with this, okay, great, but that doesn't tell me, that doesn't give me enough to trust you to keep me safe. So.
I think the biggest problem that I had with him isn't really the mystery behind who he is, or the fact that when you go to what's supposed to be his tribe, and you kind of learn a little bit more about him. My bigger issue with him as a character was he didn't really have enough screen time, and I know that's done deliberately. But like when he comes and saves your ass from getting murked in the middle of the arena, like right in the middle of the game, and like to me, it seems like he should have been. There should have been like a little fight scene, and then there should have been some witty dialogue between the two of them, and then we see him piss off, so we could see what he's actually capable of. But to find that he's like been copying your data this entire time that he's had an interaction with you, it's like, okay, cool, that's great, but like, can we get some more Silas? I feel like you got a story to tell here, and me going to another tribe might have been a little bit of a waste of an actor. Also, he probably, let's be honest, he was probably really expensive, and it would have cost a whole lot of money to to use him like that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree about that one.
So they're made.
We forget about voice acting.
Because we're not just talking about his voice acting, we're talking about this man's image on the screen and playing as him. So I can see it, but at the same time, I just feel like we needed a lot more of him, and the little bit that we got would have. I mean, it does a lot for the story because they use him in. I'm gonna use a Kingdom Hearts reference here, but we see him being used the same way Mickey Mouse was in the very first game and the second game. He's like, "Hi, I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Oh, you guys did this thing? Okay, cool. Go that direction. You good? All right, I'm out. Bye." And it's like, can you stay around for a little bit? Kind of need your help.
They're just pointing out the objective, not like they're basically talking.
So let's move on. Let's actually kind of use Silas to segue into the overarching issue. So as you go through the game and you're fighting these various animals, um, it slowly starts to be revealed to you that the animals themselves are just chilling, doing their thing, but the main villain of the story, in this particular situation, is an AI called Hades, and it's actually only following a directive, and that is to wipe off all life on the planet, right? When you guys got that little nugget of information, and then it's explained why this AI is doing what it's doing. Um, what was that? What was that revelation like for you?
See, I thought it was mankind screwing itself over
Mm-hmm.
because when we learn about Hades, as in we learn about Hades for the first time, we think of him as an omnipotent god because he is a voice from a machine, and we still don't know as characters that machines are man-made. We don't know where they come from. It's just like if someone went out to the wild for the first time and saw a lion, you don't know where a lion comes from. You don't just suddenly screw with the lion because you see the big teeth and everything. So it was interesting that as soon as we learn where he comes from, we go, well, here we go. Humans screwing themselves over, creating something meant to kill and wipe out life after the whole objective of part of the story was to save life.
Okay. Anybody else? Free forum. Jump in. Say what you gotta say.
mean, I sort of agree with those things, but at the same time, it's like you could see it kind of coming as soon as he got introduced.
Mm-hmm.
That was more likely going to be what he was, like just an AI creation of the past, just have to do certain things. But when I got to the point where you go into what's it called, the Zero Dawn Ruin Center, and you listen to that one room, a hologram where it talks about what he's meant to do, and it gets all confirmed as to what Hades is. That's where I was like, okay, that makes sense. That it's something for the past that they kind of thought was going to be used in a specific way, but as you kind of find out, things for the past had to break the future.
Okay.
It comes back to bite you in the butt.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just say the guy who narrates to us Hades' functionality really reminds me of you when you're really into something. Because it's like you can tell he's into the fact he's creating a machine that's meant to kill everything.
As soon as he
Well,
says the line of like, it's pretty badass, that we're making this, however you worded it.
Yeah.
Yep, this is not go poorly.
And just the enthusiasm some of the characters have, you actually feel it. And I think that's something that we learn from like other people around us as well. Because you read people's emotions based on what they say, and then you hear some of the emotions from the voice actors. And it's like, oh, okay. So that's how it was meant, but that's how people were taking it at the time.
All right. All right. What about you, Soren? What about you, Blue? Did we miss you
So,
guys?
like I
Oh.
said, I didn't finish the game.
Mm.
So, I did actually beat Hades, but that was about as far as I got.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting, but I did watch my husband play it, when it first came out, so I have a little bit of knowledge beyond what I just played.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a while, and, so, I mean, I really don't have an opinion one way or the other. I thought it was kind of cool, like, is all red and black and look like, lightning, kind of.
Okay. So here's I'm gonna kind of put my 2 cents in. I'm gonna see if we can come to a conclusion here, because You just brought up something that I didn't hear anybody else really talk about, and I want to touch on that. So, who else here? And again, I'm throwing this nugget out there because if anybody's watched the new trailer for the new game, it's kind of in there too. Um, so when you find out why um, why they had to do the Zero Dawn, right? And what all of that, what it took to make that, and then we get the revelation that the AI causing all of the problems, current problems in the game, is Hades. Did anybody else get the sense that Hades was infected with the same virus that the previous machines were infected with? So with that being said, was Hades wrong, or was he following his program?
Can you define wrong?
So in this particular case, wrong would be defined as wiping the current set of life off the planet, Aloy included.
See, I feel like no, but I also feel like it'd be like arguing for why would you program Hades in the first place. His initial design was to wipe everything off the planet. So in essence, what he does is exactly what he's programmed to do.
Yeah, I got the feeling that he was the one that was causing the corruption essentially. Not necessarily that he's infected, but that he's causing it.
So with that in mind, though, here's the point that I wanted to kind of touch on. Did Elizabeth fail?
Yes. I think you could almost measure how much Elizabeth failed if we're talking about Hades being the main antagonist of the story.
All right. So if she failed, or at least in what the objectives were in her story, we'll say her story because we don't really get to play as her. If her objectives ultimately failed, do you think there's any hope for the current strain of humanity? And with that being said, is there any point to Aloy continuing her journey? Anybody?
Yeah. I'd say there's like a million and one points why Aloy should, but it's also because Aloy is separate to Elizabeth in the sense that I get where Aloy comes from, and I get why Aloy was created. Because for anyone who doesn't know, Aloy herself is basically a clone of Elizabeth, who created the Zero Dawn program and was technically the entire genius behind everything, right?
Mhm.
But also, Aloy was a secondary contingency plan that wasn't brainstormed by Elizabeth.
Yeah, she was brought in by Gaia.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so with that being said, Aloy's just picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's plan clearly failed. And do you, in your view, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding, in your view, you think that Aloy can finish what was started there? Do you think ultimately Elizabeth's plan can or does have some merit and possibly a chance of succeeding in a much longer term?
Yeah, I think it's better, but the odds are probably a little bit even less in Aloy's favor than they were even in Elizabeth's favor.
And that's probably due to the technology that Elizabeth had access to versus what Aloy has access to.
That and also the difference in knowledge around it. Because obviously, one person going at something alone is a lot harder than multiple people going at it.
All right, all right.
Could I bring in some of the other subsystems for a second? So obviously we learn about Gaia and the fact that she has other subsystems. Hephaestus and Apollo being my two favorite ones to actually think about. Because Hephaestus essentially creates the machine that Gaia kicks up, and Apollo is knowledge, right? And so I think that, in a sense, Bounty's right. The Aloy doesn't have access to people who have knowledge, so she can't really hand anything off. But at the same time, in part, especially through the focus and how looking through a focus, picking a focus up and being able to see direct information in front of you gives her the advantage of knowing information instantaneously, even if she doesn't actually have to remember it herself.
Mm-hmm.
She has that assistance, but not actually the ability per se. So it's like if you had the conundrum of, let's give a doctor a textbook on how to do surgery, could they actually successfully complete a surgery? Or would they botch it?
Where your earlier comment about the internet is telecom system.
Because Apollo is essentially an internet, well, condensed into one program.
So let's talk about Apollo real quick. And actually, I'm gonna segue that into the things that I didn't like. So let's go ahead and talk about the dislikes real quick, because that part made me so mad. I was so mad when I found out about that. I was like, wait, what? Like this dude. So Teddy, Theodore, the dude that was working alongside our girl, Dr. Sobek, murking all of those people, letting them put all of their hard work and effort into making or giving humanity a chance. And this dude just rolls up in there and is like, nah, fam, game over. And murks all of those people. I have such a huge problem with that, because that was, to me, that was lazy. That was super lazy. There was no reason for that. And I had a huge problem with the way that they executed that.
Would you have said that was out of character?
Yeah, actually, it kind of was. I mean, to me, it felt like it was, because it was. He calls up Dr. Sobek to help him fix his problem. We don't get any killing intent from this guy. And then we go up on a mountain and we ascend to the highest level that we can ascend, and then oh yeah, so I'm just gonna get rid of all of the knowledge mankind has, and I'm gonna kill all of you because I can. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly right. 'Cause he does, when you first meet him, he doesn't give him any type of vibe like that. He's not. He seems more like he's the type to be easily intimidated than to be the one to actually be the aggressive and somehow not to murder Hephaestus.
Yeah,
But that's what made it so dangerous, though. Because you
True.
witnessed it.
I mean, I could see it.
I was going to be where
I can see it, but my problem is with the execution. Like anybody that's read or watched Game of Thrones, Littlefinger.
Tyrion Lannister killed him every time.
Either way, though, either one of those characters, to me, Teddy should have played like that. Like throughout the course of the data logs that we get about him from him, he doesn't seem like he has any ill intentions for any of the people on the staff. He just wants to fix a mistake that he knows he made, and he's trying to correct it. There's no indication that he's like trying to screw everybody over, or has a different agenda that doesn't match his Dr. Sobek's. To me, it seemed like he genuinely wanted to fix the fuck up that he made, and unfortunately, the world had to pay for it.
See, I'd say yes and no. Because his mistake is one you often see in games by CEOs. It's clean up publicity and what everyone else is going to think of you. But if you think about it from, let's just put ourselves in that situation where you're the head of a company. History is going to dictate how everything happens. And whether your company survives or not, your name will forever be attached to it. Internet of Things will probably say you're part of the product. In my mind's eye, based on, like, even if I'm just thinking of this for like the superheroes, because that's definitely something he thinks of in his personal life. I would want to be remembered for good and not bad. And it's not necessarily his screw up, as in him on the level of he pressed the wrong button, but he made wrong choices.
Hmm. Okay, I mean, I can see the point on that, but at the same time, it seemed really out of character. I mean, and that's just kind of my reading on him, and I get that there may have been some hint or two of it. I might have missed it, and I will openly attest that huh?
I don't think you missed it. I think because because of the way I think when I play games at club, especially when it comes to stories, I really like to go into what being a position is like. So obviously you're a main character, so you know as a main character the story is meant to revolve around you, right? But if you consider a lot of side characters, some of the stuff that initially doesn't make sense
Mm-hmm.
after a long time of thinking does. And as gamers, generally because we move from game to game quite quickly and don't have to like, you're not required to analyze the game. You're not required to think, oh, why did this character do this opposed to doing what I would do in that situation. If we take like an extra minute to actually criticize it from a CEO's perspective, it becomes a little more obvious. But you have to first actually take that phase of criticizing it from that perspective. And
And,
most people don't.
and I think that's where my
It's kind of hard to miss it, especially if, go on.
oh no, I think that's where my grievance is with it, is that he he was trying to cover his ass as a CEO. He was trying to cover his ass. So he did the most CEO thing that he could, call up Dr. Sobek and see if he could get her to fix the problem. And then when she fixes the problem, there's no reason. And this is why I was like, that's super left field to me. He called in the best person he could, the best expert he could, to fix the problem. Her solution was kill off a whole bunch of people, um, chemically castrate everybody else, save the DNA, start from scratch, and the monster and wipe out the machines. He clearly wasn't on board with that. I get it, but he let it happen, and then he turns around and kills off everybody that had anything to do with the project. His fuck up was fixed. There was no reason for him to kill anybody, and that's why I was like, but like, why? Why did he do that? And we don't get any further explanation for it.
Plot convenience.
Thank you, and that's
Here's the board story to make it exciting, to make it interesting. You need to kind of have that drama to be like, oh my gosh, this is why we are the way we are.
I mean, I guess it seemed a little lazy. That was my viewpoint. But Ghost, what about you? Let's move on to something that you disliked because I actually have a couple, and I think we may hit some few points, some midpoints.
Mine was mine were more or less simplistic. Mine was pretty much because I like games where I can create my own characters. I get that Alloy is the main character. My main thing was I could create my own version of Alloy. Um, that's one of the big things I like. That's why I kind of like the RPG games, the Bioware games, because you get to create your own version of that character to play throughout that game. The only other thing I could say I like, and it wasn't really a big like, it was more of like a learning curve, was actually the mechanics of the game. Trying to figure out, okay, what button to push to make, me shoot the ball, and then what button to push to make me have her use her spear. And what button to push because now I have to do this, and what button to push because I gotta do that. It was more or less a learning curve, but once I learned it, it was pretty good. So those were my biggest things.
Raven, what about you?
Um, so
Oh, okay.
Let me get the popcorn.
I did, okay, the game's very pretty. The story's really amazing. I not, do not like the mechanics of the game. I very much prefer melee games, and only having one button for melee was really frustrating. Um, I don't really care for ranged weapons in any game that I've ever played. Um, so having to learn that mechanic, it was interesting, but I just submit to the fact that I don't like it. Um, and then there's so many cinematics.
So many cutscenes.
Like, so many. And then, of course, there's all these damn side quests. And I'm like, okay, that's fantastic, but I don't want to do these side quests right now. Because, I slacked and didn't play the game. I'm only really, like I said, I put like 5 hours into this game last night, on stream. And I was just like, the whole time, I was like, yeah, am I done yet? I asked my husband, I'm like, am I even halfway done yet? And he's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm here. And he's like, maybe? I'm like,
That too. The game is
Yeah.
freaking huge.
like I get it, it's huge, and I understand like the story. Like I said, the story's amazing. I just the mechanics for me are not fun. And just so many cutscenes. I'm like, really? I just got finished with the cutscene.
Oh.
5 minutes later, there's another cutscene.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just play the game. I just want to kill some robots. Um, you know. And I feel like, okay, the other thing, the weapons. The weapons are great. And they're really cool, but there's not a lot of like I'm sitting there and I buy these freeze bolts and I'm like, why can't I use these freeze bolts? And I'm like ranting at it and my husband comes in and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know how to use these bolts that I just spent all this money on. And he's like, oh, you don't have the right weapon for it. And I'm like, well, that would have been good to know because they're just freaking arrows. Why can't I use them in my bow that I already own?
Okay. So I'm gonna go last because I got some more. I got a whole lot more. Bounty, Ghost, you either one of you want to pick up there?
So I actually agree with the melee part. In the beginning, it really took me a while to learn how to actually do that. I was so confused by it at first. I'm like, wait a minute, why can't I just like put my? I thought like this at first the spear needed to go into the specific radial that the bows and whatnot first beginning, I was kind of confused by it. So the melee was a little bit strange for me. But other than that, I just wish one that we could have mounted a few different of the machines after we learned how to overrun them, because there was a lot of them that I really liked their design. I wish that we could have gotten around the world riding them instead. 'Cause I myself used to study technology, and a lot of the robots use the same ideas and principles of different dinosaurs from history. So seeing a lot of different ones like that has just reminded me of all the different knowledge that I know of paleontology. So it hit me in that way.
All
But
right.
other than that, I mean, everything was kind of like really fun.
Who about you, Ghost? Feel free to step in.
Right, so my stuff is more nitpicky stuff. Because I think overall, if I was just going in to play the game is fun. It is literally a game. Though I can't like just hop in, play, and then come out feeling satisfaction that I've won like a football match or something. Right?
Mhm.
It's fun to go out and just duke it out with a couple boxes. And it was annoying that I learned how to use weapons and get better at using weapons. They did put that in, and they kind of put in these tutorials. But to find the tutorials, I have to go into my inventory / quest area, go down the quest list to tutorials, and then realize, oh damn, there's a tutorial for every weapon. But I need to be a certain level to play the tutorial. I don't want to be level 18 to learn to use a sling. Like, and also slings from other clans also have their own tutorial. Why does the sling not work the same for everything? Or another thing that bugs me, another thing that really, really bugs me is there are rope casters, and I love rope casters because it means that you can essentially trap a machine in a position, especially if you really wanted to go for a melee, because it will bring birds down as well, so long as you hit them enough times. And the problem is, you can stack them, which is great, but the more damage you do, the faster something breaks out of the rope. So I can go in and do a major critical hit, but suddenly this animal is now free, right next to me, in insta-kill position with its tail, and there is nothing I can do about it, at all. And you are dead the moment you let that happen to you. And just, that kind of stuff bugs me. Like, just a little bit.
All right, Blue. And then I'm gonna go ham. Then I'm gonna go real ham, real fast.
Which was the character customization and the
Oh,
learning curve.
okay. So everybody went. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So everybody went. Okay. I wanted to make sure everybody got it. Okay. So I'm a direct your attention to the poorly played video game in the background there. My most recent death is my first problem with this game. The biggest problem that I had with this game. So, you have a focus, and it's meant to help you find weak points. But I'm in the middle of a giant area. I'm a highly trained, highly skilled warrior, walking real slow with my focus turned on, real slow. I should be able to move. And there have been a number of times where I've just gone up to an enemy and be like, "Oh, hey, buddy, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Oh, I feel like I could kill you real quick. Let me go ahead and see what that mouth do. Oh, look, something really large. Look at that. Where is it at? I don't know. I don't know where it's at right now, and I can't really check it out. Oh, but I'm just gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can find him with my focus. Oh, there it is. Hey, and now I'm walking. And now I'm walking. That should never happen. When you use your focus, your movement slows to a crawl, and it bugs the piss out of me. I went primarily through this game without using my focus because it makes me so slow. And even when you're on horseback, it makes you so slow. It's like the entire game just stops. You stop to check your email and you have giant monsters trying to eat your face. I cannot express the depths of my hatred for that because it makes no logical sense. There's a concept called shit. It's not immersion. It's cognitive dissonance. That right there is cognitive dissonance. If I am running, I should be able to boop and just run. At the flick of a button, I should be able to look at that monster right in front of me, quick tap, boop, I've scanned it, I got all the information I need. I shouldn't slow down. That bugs the piss out of me. Second thing, why can't I climb this rock face? This came out at the same time, the very same time as Breath of the Wild. Why can I not climb this rock face? I literally had to do a Mega Man wall jump to get up that. That should never happen. That should not ever happen. It bugs, it ruins the game. So much so, for me, it ruins the game because there are portions of this game where you have to climb these yellow rock faces. And you climb these yellow rock faces, and then you do this cinematic jump, and then you catch, and then you just keep climbing. If she can do all of that in certain areas, she should be able to do that on a rock face. I have died so many times because of geometry, and it shouldn't be that way. And I know that that's for some people that's a nitpicky, but that is such a huge issue. If I can run, jump, swim, climb, I should be able to run, jump, swim, climb over everything. And that's the one thing that I think Breath of the Wild got right. You can go anywhere, climb anything, you don't have to worry about it. And that bugged the shit out of me so much. I actually, the first time I played through this game, I stopped playing it for a month because I could not take how the movement worked. Because it was like there were two different sets of movements for me. The other thing that I had a huge problem with is the weaponry. The fact that I like everything that everything that I've really had a problem with is everything that slowed down my interaction with this world.
Can I say something off the top of that?
Yeah.
So with your I hate the fact that reloading in the game is slow. But what's worse is halfway through a fight, when you run out of ammo for a specific weapon, you press your inventory button, go to crafting, craft new new arrows, and now you have a full set of arrows built in the middle of a fight, and the entire fight pauses for you to do this.
Yes.
Why?
That too. That too.
Okay, but when doing that, one thing that I noticed if you crafted the arrows from the radial, the fight didn't pause.
True. So technically this is what happened.
But I think what you were getting at is the same thing that I brought up is anything that slows this down. There shouldn't be there's no real excuse for me to start this fight with this thing right here, and then stop, and then go here, and then I'm gonna craft. Okay, well let me craft this ammo, and then get back into it. as opposed to doing it from right here. Okay, well now everything is slowed down and I don't know which one I want, but these guys are still targeting me. Oh, that one's aggroed now and the one next to him is aggroed now and I still haven't gotten. Okay, so now we're back and here we go. It seems like they couldn't decide on how to properly get you in and out of your inventory to craft more items, and that makes a little sense, but at the same time, it's both ways are super cumbersome. I mean, one of them you can use as a bullet time effect, but it's still extra. And then you look at your inventory and you realize that you don't have everything you need, so you're still assed out. There needed to be something a little easier to kind of make that a little bit more streamlined. And I hope they make something more streamlined when they come through and make the second one. It just this doing this right here or doing this right here, both of them are really neither one of them are ergonomically sound. There has to be something better. I mean, you have two triggers that you could be doing stuff with. You've got buttons. You literally have buttons on the controller that have no purpose outside of combat. You have a square and a circle button that don't do anything at all. You can press square and circle, and all she does is crouch. Square in this game doesn't, excuse me, triangle in this game does nothing. That could have been your reload button. Just a quick reload or a quick craft button. It just seems like they didn't really think too much about it, and that's kind of the sad part for me. It's just like, okay, dude, but why?
Okay, I actually have one thing I need to add that I actually didn't like when I just remembered. Is actually the compass, where it tells you where you need to go. Yeah, I kind of had a little moment, because when you are running and it's telling you, hey, go in this direction, you have so many miles, and then when you get there, all of a sudden it switches up and tells you go back in the other direction. It's like, wait, where are you telling me to go?
Oh, that too.
So sometimes the go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna piggyback on that. Like that too. That's really weird the way that they have it set up. I didn't mean to cut your point off.
No, no, no. That's totally fine. Yeah, that was the only other thing that I had an issue with because it's telling me, okay, go in that direction, and you have, 13,000 steps that you got to do. And then when you get there, all of a sudden it says, oh wait, no, now you got to go back. And it's like, wait, you just told me to come over here. Now you're telling me to go back.
So
Why?
real quick, Corvus says hello, Soren.
Oh, Corvus. Had that same issue trying to get out of Meridian. Like, it was trying to, after doing something, I had to go to Meridian, and I just fast traveled there because I was like, I don't feel like walking, the 10,000, whatever. And so I went to, so I did fast travel, and there was a campfire. So I'm like, okay, cool, that works. And then I could not get out of the city. Like, could not. I kept running around in circles. I'm following the compass, and it's just taking me in circles. So finally, I said, screw it, and fast traveled out to another campfire that was like right around the corner, and so that I could like continue playing the game. Because I spent like 10 minutes walking around this stupid city trying to get out of it.
And I think that has more to do with the way that they set the UI up. Because there's the let's be honest, it's a busy screen. That is an incredibly busy screen, and everything that they put there for you to look at, super minimal. But even with all that, it's super busy. Like even in that.
Yes, just go to the map.
What are we looking at?
Scroll out, scroll out, scroll out, scroll out, and then now take it to what is it? Literally, oh, you turned your map so you can only select what's every little monster pack corrupted, and I'm like, the hell? How much information do I need on an entire environment that I want to travel through like 100 feet in front of me?
Yeah.
That's yeah. Even that's a lot. Like every single machine pack.
Keep some of them hidden at least so I can stumble upon them.
Like that's a lot of information to be giving to your player, and that is. And then we add in all of, like that is a lot. That is so much, and I know they were trying to get as much in, but Grand Theft Auto does not have this much shit for you to do. It's like every square inch of this map. Here you go. There's something to do at every corner. And keep in mind, I haven't even done all the cauldrons, so I don't even know where those are because of all of this information. That is a huge piece of information. This a lot of this is needed because there are certain things that you have to do, and there's certain pieces of information that you need. But holy shit, man! Holy shit, that's a lot. The other thing that I would really be okay with, honestly, if they did away with, is just the different fires, like Raven, I think, has probably the best point, and like that's a big thing, is being able to get in and out. This place is not small, not even by a long shot. Like maybe if we were looking at this, Aloy takes up a pixel, and you have this entire thing, and you've got how many fires that you can teleport to, like 10 fires just for this one area. But if you come over here to the Nora have like one fire every 20 miles or so. That's too much. There's too much. Same thing with the Banuk tribe all the way up here in the north. There are approximately 5 fires that you can access in this one area. That is so much. It's overwhelming. And I know they didn't intend to do that, but that is one that is way too much. Way too much. Way too much. And we're supposed to be in the next one. We're supposed to be in San Francisco. San Francisco's not small. One of the things that I would definitely get rid of is all of the extra stuff. Corvus says not even Skyrim has that much stuff, and Skyrim's a big game too. Hell, even Final Fantasy 15, dude, there's not this much stuff in that small of amount of space. That just seems a lot. And
You know what I think it is?
hmm,
I think the problem is they realize that players don't always want to fight monsters. Because I realized this the other day when I was talking to Bounty quickly.
oh,
Bounty has played a lot less hours than I have,
mm-hmm,
but he is a hell of a lot higher level than I am. Because what I do is when I play it, I speed past a lot of monsters.
mm-hmm,
So I got to the part where, for anyone who doesn't know, uh, the Nora essentially get attacked by the Shadow Cardio fully, like fully bombed with monsters we haven't seen before,
mm-hmm,
those machines. And I got through that entire fight area. I fought one small machine at the beginning,
mm-hmm.
and I fought the end boss. Everything else I snuck past. I didn't even touch a single machine. Whereas Bounty kills almost everything he
Out of
sees.
the way of destruction.
And I was a razor's edge from the circle.
And I think that's one of I think that actually speaks to the amount of diversity they were trying to give you in your gameplay, because you can run through this entire game acting like Solid Snake. I mean, the only thing that was missing was a cardboard box. but you can sneak up and kill on almost everything in this game, and that's fine. But if you're gonna do that, you don't need all of this. You don't you the fact that you have so much on the screen at any given point in time, that's problematic. I mean, even Solid Snake had an open world game. You remember how big that was? There was three worlds that you could go to. The entire thing was open world, but the amount of information that you needed to navigate, super minimal, super minimal. You walked in with maybe four guns. You had a helicopter. You had a dog, and then you had a checkpoint, and you could just go all over Afghanistan, cover the entire Afghanistan area, and it didn't look anything like this. Anything like this. And it turns a lot of people away, and that's really sad to see. One of the and this will be my final grievance, and then we'll move on to the things that we would like to see in the next game, and we'll focus a little bit more on that. But the the one last thing that I didn't like, and this one's huge for me, is um, Aloy's relationships, and I'm not talking about the relationships as in a sexual nature, or her getting shipped up with some other random character, or the lack of romance. Her entire journey for me, the way that I interpret it, is this small child was thrown out of a community, and by the end of it, she doesn't end up with a community. The hero's journey, you start in one point, you go through your trials and your tribulations, and you go back to the point where you started, but you have a different viewpoint. She doesn't complete that journey for me. It doesn't seem like she completed the journey at all. It seems like she got to the abyss part and just kind of stayed in the abyss part, and that bugged me character wise for her. I don't feel, and I know that she's got a sequel, but by the end of this game, she should have had closure. And the only closure she gets is the fact that she finds the corpse of her mother, and that's it. She doesn't go back to the Nora. She doesn't go to the Karja. She doesn't hang out with the Banuk. She just ends up by herself. And I feel like that was a disservice to the entire journey that she went on.
Yeah, I can see that. Totally how it comes in. No, mainly to say that it sort of gives off like an unfinished sort of feel in terms of like what she was trying to get from what she started with.
I would say that I agree, but it also seemed like Aloy's entire character is based on the fact that she was technically cast out as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because of being cast out, I don't feel like she's meant to wander alone, but I also like the fact that her story isn't played out as her as a character needing everyone she interacts with. Most of the story actually revolves around, oh, someone needs your help doing this, and you have a choice to do it. You could play all of Horizon Zero Dawn and almost never touch the main storyline because you're just helping people. I think that's where you kind of feel like she doesn't necessarily need other people around her, though it would make sense that she build a following. Because at one point they basically look at you as halfway to being a god.
Mm-hmm.
You are a child born of the machine in their eyes a god.
But even then, I think by the end of it, it would have made more sense for her to start her own tribe, or at the very least, become one of the sacred mothers. Like that to me would have been a fitting end for her situation. It's like, okay, well, you did all of this stuff for us, and you changed our viewpoints on a number of things, especially the machines and whether or not to let you guys out of the sacred I forgot what the sacred lands. So why don't we just make you a sacred mother? She earned that right. She ended up bringing not only three separate tribes together to fight a common enemy, but she ended up saving their world, and the most she gets for it is a dead corpse of who was supposed to be her mother. It seems like she should have gotten a little bit more than that to me. Not that she should have gotten some great reward or ended up being the king of all kings, but I mean, hell, she fights a giant T Rex for her people, and the oldest woman in the group is like, nah, fuck that bitch, she out, get her out of here. We don't want her. She's a blasphemer. It's like, but wait, bro, you would have died 5 minutes ago. And the whole point of
I think.
oh, go ahead.
Go on, go on. Nah, go. Finish up.
Oh, that was it. I really didn't have anything else to add after that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I think what that kind of section is with, I'm gonna call her, was it Tirza?
Tersa, yeah.
It was Tirza. Yeah, right. Because there's one that likes her, and there's one that hates her, and there's our middle one who doesn't really say anything but, oh, you helped us, and then everyone else does dialogue. And I'm like, I think it was to give us the idea that Aloy still wasn't liked, even for everything she did, which wasn't necessarily necessary, because we know as like the entire thing she became, being a seeker, was a role that she earned partially because she had no family. She had no ties to being as part of the Mora. She was already an outcast. The only reason she really couldn't leave was principle. And so by gaining that sense of, oh, I can leave now because they told me to, she didn't actually really gain anything at that point, but you kind of feel like she does. And so we have to still remember that somehow, I'm guessing, or at least I'm trying to think as the game designer did, that people don't like her just because they help her. And not everyone's going to suddenly like you just because you save them. Ungrateful as it may seem, people sometimes don't appreciate being saved.
Which and that's, I guess that's what I was trying to get at, is she's she still hasn't completed her hero's arc. Jesus Christ, where did that come from? She still hasn't completed her hero's journey as far as this game is concerned. She's supposed to leave, get some new knowledge, bring that new knowledge back. Regardless of whether or not the people are appreciative of it, her viewpoint on the world is supposed to have changed. Her viewpoint changed, but she didn't come back and provide that knowledge to everybody else. The Nora still hate the machines. None of them are using the focuses, which they all, by this point, by hell, by the end of the game, everybody that you talk to should have found a focus. And that was another thing that I was like, you guys are you guys literally just fought off an army. Everybody in that army has a focus, so they're able to communicate with each other back and forth. Meanwhile, you're fighting an AI who can't tap into your focus. Why are you guys not using these focuses so that you can communicate back and forth? You're defending the wall against all of these machines, and you still got guys sitting next to you like, hey buddy, you might want to get off of that platform. Yeah, you should get off of that platform. It's damaged. When in reality, it should have been like, hey, Aloy, look, I know you just took a giant, T-Rex to the face, but maybe you should get off of that platform. I'm just saying, we kind of need some help over here. It just seems like she went through all of these turmoils, and the knowledge was not passed on. Even in this new trailer, Aaron still doesn't have a focus. He should have at least found a focus by that point, and they should have had like a mini network themselves. She and Silas have a network between the two of them. That's a huge piece of information that the two of them could have used.
Now with the trailer though, they only gave us a snippet.
I know.
So we can't actually say that just because we don't see him with the focus now or then doesn't mean that he may not have gotten one. He was captured. Maybe they took his focus. We don't know.
I'm not saying that specifically. I'm talking about at the end of this game when you're in the end game portion where the communication between all of the people that you help, which that's another really cool thing. If you help these people, they show up to help you at the end of the game, which I thought was kind of rad. But like at that point, hey bro, here's a focus. Hey bro, here's a focus for you too. Oh, I found this focus in this cauldron. Here's one for you too, so we can communicate back and forth. That
Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind that they are set in their ways and the things that they were taught that says, oh, that came from a forbidden world. That's a bad thing.
mhm.
That's not going to change overnight. So even though they came to help her, what makes you think they're going to put that in their ear and start using it, especially if they have no idea how to use it?
That's
So
what I was gonna say too.
yeah, so the fact that it would have been cool if they would have been able to use a focus, most likely most of those people aren't going to use it because most of them don't even know what it is. The fact that it came from a forbidden, like the forbidden world, they're not going to put that in their ear and use it to communicate. See, Alan was different was because she was outcast. She didn't have a tribe. Yes, what was his name? I forgot his name.
Ross,
Oh my goodness. The one that raised her.
Ross.
But nice to meet this one Indian who turned out to be a quote unquote
No, she's talking about Ross.
Right.
Thank you. I mean, he taught her the ways, but because of what he taught and what she saw, things didn't match up. So she was more curious and more willing to go out and do things that those in the village will most likely never do. So when the end time came and everybody showed up, it was great. They showed up and the likelihood of them putting something in their ear that for their whole life told them, no, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. They're not going to do that. Now maybe over time,
So
as
I will agree to certain tribes saying no. Like the Nora that show up at the end, yeah, I totally can see them like, yeah, no, I'm not putting it in my body. That's a little weird. Why are you doing that? But what was the name of the metal?
Manute should do that.
Definitely the Banuk should have been on board, and the I forget the name of the metalworking tribe. The tribe that Aaron's part of.
Um, Warsaw? No. It's O something.
The Asaram.
Yeah.
The Asaram would have definitely been on board with that. Particularly if not all of them, but like Aaron would have definitely been on board with it. Um, the Karja 100% would have been on board with it, especially after getting their asses handed to them by the Shadow Karja. They would have definitely been on board with it, and that's where my concern is. It's like, hey, like, dude, you literally have this technology living underneath you, and you've taken a great deal of resources and dedicated to, seeing what this is, and now we have all this technology that we can use to fight these monsters off, and we're using it, but we're not using the one thing that could help us communicate. Tactically, that seemed a little weird. That seemed a little left
Going
field.
back to what I said a while ago when I said that the knowledge around Aloy is not anywhere near her because they don't want to pick up some of the stuff, but two, they don't have the knowledge of and how to use it.
or yeah, and they understand it. So they're not going to put something, on them or in them that they don't know or don't understand.
And that's why I'm like
Yeah,
50-50 on it.
yeah, and that's why Allie was
when she first picked it up. He was like, we shouldn't be messing with that. She was like, but look, it does all these cool things.
And then it ends up saving his life. And
Yeah.
I think honestly, she should have tried to teach Ross, and Ross would have rejected. I think that would have been a much better setup. But the way that they handled it, I mean, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. I love the way that it was executed. I distinctly have a problem with it because it's part of her hero's journey. She's out there teaching these people like, hey man, like this stuff is pretty cool. You might want to look into this. Even um, what is her name? Not Tirsa. The one of the sacred mothers that the one sacred mother we were talking about that just doesn't do anything. Like even she was kind of like Aloy might be right.
And the other thing is that they have to be willing to learn. And there are some people that are so stuck in their ways that's just like, it's not going to happen. No matter what you say, no matter how much you try to show them, unless they are willing to change and are willing to learn, they're not going to do it.
And I think that's what makes the whole thing so fascinating. Is this just this girl finds some things, learns about it, and then she uses that to help the people around her. And there's still people like, you're evil. And you're like, but that T-Rex had you in its mouth, bro. Like,
Definitely brings some of that realism into the game as far as the human condition is concerned.
mm-hmm. With that being said, let's go ahead and transition into our final section, and that is what we would change and what we would like to see in the next game. So, since I took up most of the time, I'm gonna go dead last because I had a lot to say. So, Raven, if you want to start us off with this one.
Um, would change the game mechanics. Honestly, give me some more melee options as far as being able to fight. Because like I said, some people are definitely much better at range games, whereas I really prefer to get in there and get my hands dirty, so to speak. That's the biggest thing I could change.
Okay, so for the next one, I think they got you covered on that one because the way they were displaying that combo system, I think you'll have a really good time with that one.
Well, and that depends on if I play it.
That's true. That's true. Um, Honestly, though, like having seen that new trailer, I was just kind of like, whoa, okay. And then they got like little Street Fighter Supers or just some weird shit like that. I really think you might like that one. Bounty, what about you, man?
Strategies and trying to make them a little bit more simpler to pick up on in the beginning for people. Not everyone's gonna the easiest time with it. But make the map a little bit less cluttered and uh, hard to understand what you're looking at exactly, I guess. But maybe also work on the mount system, add a little bit more to it. So just bring it along so you move that, especially with all the different overrides you can actually do. But yeah, maybe just like I guess add a couple of different types of weapons, maybe add something else besides just the spear for melee as well. Yeah, something like that, I guess.
And Blue, what about you?
Okay. Yeah, the learning curve mechanics make it a little bit simpler, but also when you are traveling that compass, that tell me to go in one direction, and when I kind of get to where I need to go, and then you're swiveling it around, so up, now I gotta, back it on up, that. The compass, trying to tell you where you need to go. I would love if they can kind of update that or change that or change it in a way where you say, okay, you need to be in this direction, just go here, and just keep it that way. Instead of switching it up. So I think those, that's my biggest takeaway, that's the biggest takeaway.
And Ghost?
On top of that, I think it definitely why wasn't this just laid out on the floor in front of me for like a hollow video for me to watch? Why do I have to go through this room, and this room
Just to get access to it.
find out some of this lore?
Just kind of back on that was another thing. I'm sorry. Was the scan. Because sometimes when you try to scan, it would not scan. You had to either move up, back up, do a dance in order for it to scan. You don't get it just right. That was the other thing. That's another thing that they can definitely fix. If they are gonna have to scan things to make it smoother, so that way you don't have to do, a dance, trying to figure it out, and then you get frustrated and be like, okay, I'm gonna come back later, and then you totally forget all about it. That was the other thing. Okay, I'm done.
All right.
I think my other thing would be in the next game, something I want to see brought this up, and it's quite an interesting concept. If, say, for instance, we were playing the games like 2 or 3 people, right? Say they added a multiplayer element, or you had a multi-squad element as like assistant characters. Say you have one character that sniped while another character went in for melee stealth kills or something, right? I want to be able to, even if I can't control a character, look through the eyes of another character. Because imagine being able to look through, say, that sniper character as you're sneaking through. Because essentially it could up the difficulty of some of the levels. Because you have to, like, actually consciously go, oh, maybe let me check what's going on around me without creating that noise disturbance of actually moving around. And I think that is such a cool mechanic that this would explore.
That actually sounds pretty rad. So I'm gonna be the diplomat here and bring all of your ideas together, because everything that each one of you have brought up honestly could be done through one mechanic, which is the one mechanic that I absolutely have the biggest problem with, and it's this right here. This right here. This needs to be far more. It needs to be far more tactile. It needs to be far more useful than it is in the game. How many of you guys played Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5, or 4 or 4?
I have
Okay, so in Metal Gear Solid 4, Solid Snake, or I guess Old Snake in that one, Old Snake has this ring that surrounds him, and it gives you a lot of information without being super cumbersome. Oh, Jesus. Basically, it's called the stealth ring, and what it does is it acts like a sort of a sonar, a visual sonar for you. So any enemies that are coming up on you, it'll ping, and it'll show you not only how close they are to you, but whether or not they can see you in the first place. And it helps you move around and navigate a lot better. When they added that, it changed the entire way that you interacted with the game. It also gave you a number of options that you could just play around with without even having to think about what you're going to do next. The other thing is it would be able, in my view, this would replace the combat ring that you have here. So anytime that you needed to go in and do something, just pop it up. It doesn't slow you down. You can use your triangle button. Boop, boop, boop. You automatically can just remake some ammo if you need to, or quick reload. Make it super snappy. Get in, get out, get your business done. Like, there needs to be more of a use for this. And on top of that, since you've got the lines all over the place, it removes your need to scan. If you are close to it, if you're close to something, it would just beep beep, give you a little click, and then it would bring it up. You don't have to go first person trying to figure out where this thing is. You don't have to put the reticle in the center. It's just if it's within this bubble, it scans it, picks it up, and then you're on. That way you can just keep moving. My whole thing for Aloy, if I were designing this, is that movement is key. You should be able to keep moving. If you're scanning something, you're just scanning something. Your movement speed doesn't slow down, and it would the focus would do everything that you needed it to do. It would control your weapons. It would control your ammo. It would control all of the nitpicky aspects. The only thing that it wouldn't do for if I were doing this is it wouldn't pick up the materials for you. That's what I would do. That's what I would like to see change. That's what I would hope they would do as they move forward in this game, because that focus beyond scanning things does nothing, and it seems like a useless piece of information, especially if you can go through the whole game without using it. And her entire persona is based off of learning everything that she could with that focus. If she's old enough to be using that in combat, as the story's told us, she should be super quick with it.
I agree.
But that's my thing. Anybody else want to add anything to that? Anybody want to add some extra stuff to it? Any other stuff that we should probably look at?
I think you actually covered most of it. There are like little things that personally I think if you've heard it and it put you off the game,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say try the game. Like honestly speaking, I watched the game when it first came out as walkthroughs, and I was like, I'm never gonna play this because it is not a game that I would like to just play. Because I usually like to bar like one or two games, like to just sit down, get in, play some, enjoy some victories, take a couple losses, and get out. Because most of my games are quick paced games. But this, it's almost that nice in between pace of like if D&D became a video game for a solo player and you making some choices to like railroad and just bullet through everything doesn't necessarily matter. Like you can go on a murder hobo spree
This is true.
and you could literally kill everything bar people in the game and it is perfectly okay. Or you can just stealth it and literally it becomes an entirely different game because now every kill you make is harder because you don't have those levels, you don't have certain components, but also it takes a little more skill that way. Who knows? But yeah, all I want to say is that people should try the game if they haven't.
I don't think I could add any more to that. Anybody else got anything else?
No, I definitely agree. Try the game out, see if you like it. But I'm one of those people who tries anything, just about.
All right, so we're gonna. If there's not anything else, then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. So we're gonna start from the top right, and then we're gonna work our way back around. Soren, why don't you tell everybody where you can be found, where they can follow your career or the one of the things that you want to promote.
Um, I do have a Twitch, I have an Instagram, pretty much everything you can find me on, you're gonna find me under Sora Raven, just like it's spelled. SORORRAVN, no E. So yeah, I'm out there.
All right, and what about you, Bounty? Where can we follow up with you?
Follow me on Twitch as the Donnie Posted. I also have a Discord and Instagram as well, but I'm not as active on Instagram, but I do always try to chat with people on Discord and whatnot, and also on the stream. You're very welcome to come and hang out. I honestly always enjoy getting to hear opinions from people, so that is anything.
All right, and what about you, Blue?
You can also find me on Twitch as Blue Bugsy, and I also have a Discord, which you can also find on my About page.
And Ghost.
Yo, you can join the Skeleton Army. You can hit me in Discord. I've got an Insta, but primarily I'm on Twitch where we just chill and hang out.
All right. What's your Twitch tag, bro?
Same thing as my name, Whiskey and Sands.
All right. And you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/bloodhoundlord, or you can find me here at the Antiphonal Ambiguity, where I'll be streaming with these fine folks. Or you can find me on Facebook, Facebook Live. I have an Instagram, but I don't really give that out. I'm not really on it that much. So, other than that, I draw comics. I'll be linking that in the chat. Don't forget to jump into our Discord. Our Discord can be found at Antiphonal Ambiguity. We'll put the link in there for you guys to check that out. Make sure you follow us, give us a like, subscribe, depending on which platform that you're on. We'll be happy to have you, and we would love to see you guys back again next month when we're going to be playing Titanfall 2, since that's the only one that everybody can get access to. But we're going to be talking about the Titanfall lore, and that goes all the way up to Apex Legends, and how that interacts. So we will be meeting again next month on the 20th. We're going to try to do some individual streams in between now and then, but on July the 20th is when our next book club meeting is going to be. Hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that. Actually, let me retract that. It's going to be July the 17th, because we do these on Saturdays. Other than that, my name is Bloodhound. This is our gang. We are Antiphonal Ambiguity. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you. Please feel free to hit us up again, and we'll see you guys on the 17th. Take care. Have a great day.
See ya.